go, my darlings.
Thanks, Wendy!
Thanks, Wendy. I paid for him.
Oh, yes, here's your
Hey.
change.
Have you ever stopped to imagine that maybe the lack of baby bingo photos has some connection to the fact that Aunt Brandy couldn't have children? Or that some of the games Bandit plays with the girls might be deliberate to annoy his neighbor, Judo's mom? These are just a few of the most bizarre theories that have some basis in certain scenes and moments in Bluey that we've broken down for you detail by detail. And believe me, some of them are very likely to become true in the 4th season of Bluey. To find out everything about them, just stick with us until the end of this video. Warning, this video will address some sensitive topics such as death, aging, and illnesses. Bandit fell in love with Brandy. The fairy tale episode is one of the coolest episodes in the Bluey series because through it, we see Bandit telling the unforgettable story, at least for him, of how he saw his great love for the first time. And let's agree, seeing origin stories is pretty cool. However, there's a detail throughout the episode that grabs a lot of attention. Chili doesn't remember any of it. This leads us to two possibilities. Either she has severe memory problems, or the dog dressed as She-Ra was never her. And that's where another sinister theory is born. In reality, that little dog that looks so much like Chili would be her own sister, Brandy. And since she was still a child, Bandit would have associated the girl who helped him with the person he would meet years later in London, which was when they started dating. So it wouldn't be absurd to say that if all of this is true, Bandit would have fallen in love with Brandy in childhood and not Chili. And if that's true, the Healer family's life could become a real chaos.
Bandit Healer. Is this your hat?
Criminal organization? Get ready, because now you'll hear one of the craziest and most insane theories involving the Healers. According to a survey, it was estimated that the Healers' house, given its location and size, cost between $1 and $1.7 million. But how could an archaeologist and an airport security worker afford and maintain such a house? That's where the bizarre theory comes in. While Bandit would smuggle archaeological findings from his work, he would need to sell them on the black market, which would be much easier if he had a contact inside the airport, making it easier for these extremely rare historical items to move unnoticed. And guess where Chili works? That's right, at the airport. Very convenient, isn't it? This theory would explain why they have such an expensive and well-located house in Brisbane. Of course, there's still a chance that the house is a family inheritance or that they simply financed it for the next 360 years. But, as we said, it's just a sinister theory. Now, in the break between one theory and another, click on the subscribe button and start being a part of our channel today. Chili's mother and cancer. If there's one thing the Bluey series emphasizes a lot, it's family ties. That's why we see that interactions between the characters happen quite often among the Healer's own family members. We've met Bandit's two brothers and Chili's sister. Furthermore, we've seen Bandit's parents and Chili's dad in different episodes. But Chili's mother was mainly seen through the drawings made by Bluey's and Bingo's own mother during the Dragon episode. At this moment, Chili makes it clear that her mother is no longer alive and that her passing occurred before the girl's birth. And who knows, even before she started dating Bandit. This leads to some speculations about the cause of Bluey's grandma's death. The episode in which all of this happens is called Dragon, and that's exactly one of the most common terms used to refer to this terrible disease. Which brings us to the clear theory that the cause of Grandma's death was due to this reason, which leads to another even more terrible theory. And it's related to other theories that will appear here, which is the possibility that all the females in the Healer family may have a genetic predisposition to the health problem that ultimately caused Grandma's loss. Yes, this is very possible, and there is plenty of evidence we will bring up in the following topics in this video. The disease and Chili's miscarriage. This theory is closely related to the theory of Chili's mother's cause of death. First, we need to mention that one of the cancers that affects women the most worldwide is cervical cancer. And since this disease can be hereditary, both Chili and Brandy have a chance of developing this illness. For this reason, when there is a family history, regular medical checkups are necessary. Even so, the disease can still manifest itself. That's why a theory has arisen stating that the cause of Chili's miscarriage would have occurred because the women in her family have issues with their uterus, where babies are formed. So when the couple lost their first baby, they had to resort to intensive medical treatment so that they could finally, after some time, receive the news that the rainbow baby was on the way. Which in this case was Bluey, the protagonist of this series that we love so much. Unfortunately, this theory leaves open the possibility that in the future, Chili may have the chance to develop cervical cancer. We truly hope that this does not happen. But this theory leads to another even more complex theory, which may be real. Bingo is Brandy's daughter. Yes, my friends, this could actually be true. The first fact pointing to this sinister theory is the obvious resemblance between the two characters, as Chile herself mentions in the Onesies episode. Furthermore, in the scene where the aunt and the supposed niece are playing, when Bingo runs away, we can see the devastated look on Brandy's face, as if the thing she loves most is slipping away from her. Another point that reinforces this theory even more is the fact that Brandy chose not to meet Chile for years, and this would be directly linked to the fact that her sister was raising her daughter as they had agreed upon this arrangement between them. This would be justified by the fact that Brandy got pregnant and the father didn't acknowledge paternity, leaving her with no option but to ask her older sister, who was already married with a little daughter and had all the resources to raise a baby, to take on the role of a mother while she reorganized her life. It might sound crazy, but if you analyze it closely, you'll notice that all these arguments can indeed make sense. After all of this, at some point, Brandy would discover that she developed the same health issue as her mother, and for that reason, she had to undergo surgery to remove her uterus, which prevented her from having children again. The healers move. In the Stickbird episode of the 3rd season, we see Bandit with the girls at the beach, and at a certain moment, he is extremely thoughtful and visibly sad. Something very heavy must have been on his mind at that moment. After the teaser for the last episode of the 3rd season of Bluey was released, which will be 28 minutes long, we found a clue as to why this happened. The episode titled The Sign shows Bluey telling something to her classmates, and everyone is surprised. The theory most accepted by fans of the show is that she informed everyone that her family would be moving, which would be a real shock for everyone. Bluey herself is very sad at that moment. This reinforces the idea that at that moment on the beach, this could have been what was troubling Bandit's thoughts, and how he would break the news to his family. Truly, if this is true, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. And if you, like us, are eager to see the last episode of Bluey, comment #sign. Rusty and his family are poor. In this same season, we see some details about one of my favorite characters from Bluey, Rusty. Everyone who watches the show knows that Rusty's father serves in the Australian Army, and in the cricket episode, we see him sending a letter to his family. In this episode, we can notice that Rusty's family's house is much simpler than the houses of all the other characters in the series, like Chloe, Mackenzie, and even Bluey. YouTuber @AussieGirlMaggie, who is from Australia, revealed that Rusty's family home is an old model of houses built after 1940. These are small and much cheaper houses. Furthermore, we see that Rusty's family is larger than the others, as they have 3 siblings, and more children mean more expenses. For this reason, Rusty and his brother share a bunk bed, unlike Bluey and Bingo, who each have their own room. Another detail we notice is that the neighborhood park where Rusty plays cricket is much simpler than the park where Bandit takes Bluey and Bingo to play. All of this indicates that the father's army salary is mainly allocated to the children's education expenses, even though they are not poor, but they lead a much simpler life than all the other characters presented in the series. Wendy and Bandit. This one is a mind-blowing theory. We see that in various moments of Bluey, Bandit and Wendy, Judo's mother, have been involved in some rather awkward situations. The bizarre theory suggests that over time, Wendy's disdain for Bandit could have turned into a kind of attraction. Naturally, this would have brought them closer. For example, in the episode where Bandit pretends to be a rag doll, she takes advantage of the moment when Wendy puts him in the car. Besides all of this, it's noticeable that Wendy isn't very close to Chile. On the contrary, she avoids contact with her neighbor. But when it comes to Bandit, they are always talking, which in itself is quite suspicious. All of this would lead to the belief that there is mutual attraction between a married dog and his neighbor, who seems to have recently ended a relationship. And if this is true, it certainly shouldn't be shown in a children's program, don't you think? These were the 8 most sinister and bizarre theories involving Bluey and its characters. And yes, they are just theories, but time will tell if they have any basis. While we wait, we've gathered these amazing videos for you to watch and have fun with. Choose your favorite and click on it.